Praise be to Jesus. Hi everyone, Charles here with you. Well, I'm going to take a break here because there's a story that's really, I think, worth talking about. It really points to the kind of thinking that goes on in modernist minds. So let's start here. All right, so this is a story about Cardinal Konrad Krajewski, the papal Amander, broke on May 11th a seal in order to restore electrical power for about 500 illegal immigrants who, with the help of communist radicals, have been occupying the state-owned Spin-Time Labs building in Rome since 2013. They've occupied this building. Krajewski called his crime tearfully a, quote, gesture of desperation. Since May the 6th, the electricity supplier had interrupted its service because the illegals had outstanding bills for over, well, this says 300,000 euros, but that can't be. It must be 300 euros. During a Sunday rally in Cuneo, Italy, I guess, Matteo Salvini, Italian's popular interior minister, expressed his hope that Krajewski would now pay this debt and also help poor Italian families. Now, Matteo Salvini is the deputy prime minister of Italy, and he and Cardinal Parolin of the Vatican, a modernist, had some words. I'm going to read a little bit of that story there, but that's who Salvini is, all right? So, help the families. All right, quote, "It would be nice if everyone was helped, not just those who occupy buildings and break the law." All right. So that's what Salvini had to say. So this cardinal admitted publicly that he broke the seal, all right? So here's the next story. Here's the update. The prosecutor's office in Rome is investigating the May 11th events when the papal Amander Cardinal Konrad Krajewski illegally broke a seal to restore electrical power in the communist-occupied Spin-Time Labs in Rome. Well, you see, now this doesn't make any sense. It's not communist occupied because it said that they were illegal immigrants who were supported by communists, but maybe the illegal immigrants are communists too. I don't know about that. Subsequently, Rome's Municipal Electricity Company, ACEA, lodged a complaint against unknown persons, although Krajewski had publicly admitted his misdeed. Now, ACEA suggests the crime of aggravated theft of electricity, stressing the danger to safety since illegally reconnecting the electricity was potentially very dangerous. It is expected that Krajewski will now be named a suspect. So here you have this cardinal who decides that he's just going to break the law under the, let me see here, what's going on. He's just going to break the law, the secular law, in order to give these people electricity, and then he admits it publicly, as if, it's something to be proud about. This whole concept of, the law of love, from God, love God above, love God first and, your brothers and sisters. So I guess he did what he did under the law of love. This is really troublesome. First of all, you're not to commit a crime, either a secular crime or a crime against the Ten Commandments just because the outcome is good. All right. There are other ways for him to deal with this if he really wanted to give these people, electricity. Now, I assume that they couldn't possibly owe 300,000 euros at the time their electricity was shut off. I mean, people get their electricity turned off for, they owe a few $100s and haven't paid for a few months. So, it just must be $300. Well, if he really wanted to do something, couldn't he this guy isn't worth $300, or he couldn't go to some of his buddies and scrape up $300 to pay their bill, So what is he doing this for? I think it's just all a ploy to bring to the attention this disordered sense of what God's love is all about. In other words, it's really Marxist thinking is what this really is. And it's very much a part of the Vatican, and a lot of cardinals and bishops think this way. And that's go ahead and do what you want and then justify it under the heading of love, Well, you could punch somebody in the face, and say, well, I did this out of love, and then come up with the explanation. See, that's what Marxism does, is they do what they want to do, and then they justify it. Instead of working from a group of laws that respect God and respect your brothers and sisters at the same time. They put the cart before the horse. So, you got this guy doing this, and, he has a need to verbalize this. Now, this kind of thinking is, what's really behind communion for the remarried, that the law of love supersedes everything, even though Jesus said in 3 of the Gospels that remarriage is adultery. Unless you live as brothers and sisters, or a brother and sister would, and or if you have an annulment, that's another thing. But if you just have a secular divorce and you get remarried, Christ says this is adultery. But the law of love, in this kind of disordered thinking, makes it okay. It makes it okay for remarried people to have communion. And the same thing with when Francis says that God loves you the way you are, when he says that to a homosexual. Well, yes, God loves you, and he'll love you unconditionally. But, at the same time, he says nothing about, the sin of practicing homosexuality. He leaves that part out. So he gets homosexuals to think that it's okay for me to practice homosexuality. He does all this by omission, See, this is all about love, too, you see. So you put love above everything, and then you can justify any kind of action you would take. And he's done this many times, And, what this Cardinal did here, and, he not only did it, it's like he was proud to do it, he wanted to let everybody know. And like I said, there are other ways of dealing with this. As far as an act of charity. And anyway, you're not supposed to, you do an act of charity. What do you do? What do you do specifically? If you send $100 to, some charity, do you go out and you tell everybody? Well, no, you don't do that. None of us do that, or we're not supposed to do that. And I think, by and large, really none of us do it, actually, because we know that, you do these things And part of doing them is not to blow your horn, so to speak. But this cardinal's out there blowing his horn, Look at the... I'm just looking at his picture, with the smile on his face. I don't know where the picture came from, but whatever. So this kind of disordered thinking, he seems to be very proud of. And, there was something else here. At the same time, let's go over to, let's see here. So here, let's, Salvini, who's the Italian deputy prime minister, all right, so here, let's read a little bit of this article here. All right, so the name of this article is Great Salvini Invokes Our Lady. Pro-gay Cardinal Parolin gets angry. All right. I think party politics divide, but God belongs to everyone. Invoking God for oneself is always very dangerous. Huh? I don't get that. Where does he come up with that? That's from Cardinal Parolin. Cardinal Parolin, the pro-gay Vatican Secretary of State, said this after the Italian Deputy Prime Minister, Matteo Salvini, had invoked Our Lady during a political rally in Milan. Parolin spoke at the Roman, quote, Feast of the Peoples, unquote, an event used for propagating mass migration or immigration. At the same time, the March for Life went on in Rome, ignored by the Francis Church. It's not Salvini's fault that the Vatican-backed parties promoting abortion, mass immigration, gay pseudo-marriage, euthanasia, and a relapse into barbarianism instead of invoking Our Lady. Salvini replied to Parolin on LA7 TV, quote, I'm the last of the good Christians. I'm divorced. I'm a sinner. I swear. I go to Mass 3 times a year. But I defend our history, the existence of Catholic schools. And if I believe in God and ask for Mary's protection, does this bother someone? So he's talking to Cardinal Parolin, Oh, boy. Well, I think you see in this little story right here of what this cardinal did, the kind of thinking that has invaded the church. And that's, make things the way you want and then find a way to do word gymnastics. I call it word gymnastics, where you twist, turn, and flip, and you certainly say a lot of words that become very confusing, and that's why people for years have been talking about confusion in the church. Well, I think I pretty much said what I wanted to say about this. So, first of all, I want to leave you with this thought anyway. I mean, other than the disordered thinking of the Vatican under the flag of love, is that, no matter what, Christians believe that you never commit a sin or you never break the law unless the law is unjust in God's eyes. You never do that because it has a good outcome, all right? The path to a good outcome always has to be good in itself. It can't contain anything where you're, sinning in any sort of way. And if it does, you're not to do it. You're not to justify the sin because of the outcome. And I firmly believe that that's really correct Catholic teaching. if any of you need to ponder on that a little bit, I hope you do so. Well, okay, I've talked 15 minutes. All right, well, I think I made the points that I wanted to make. So, all right, so the next time some story gets under my skin, that's what's been happening lately. I've done a few stories, and that's because they sort of get under my skin, and I think maybe I have a take on it that I want to share with you, like I did here. Just reading a story to you. I mean, I used to do that, a year and a half ago, but anymore, this isn't like first grade or kindergarten where the teacher sits up there and reads a story to the children, and then you have milk and cookies and take a nap. You all have your own need to take responsibility for keeping yourself educated. So I really only want to post things when I feel like I have like an angle or an insight that I'd like to share with you. And with this one here, it's all about this disordered thinking of and the application of the law of love and how it played out in this particular story with the Cardinal breaking the seal on the electrical box, and how it plays out in a much larger way in the modernist church. Well, okay, so we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.